I blocked my entire family on the same day. It wasn't impulsive. That's the thing I need people to understand. I didn't wake up angry and start hitting block on everyone in a spiral. I sat at my kitchen table with my coffee and did it methodically, one by one, starting with my mom and ending with my cousin Dre, who I actually liked. It took about 20 minutes. Then I put my phone face down and finished my coffee. The thing that finally did it was my brother Marcus's wedding 2 weeks before. I was a groomsman. I bought the suit, paid for the flights, took 3 days off work. What I didn't know until the rehearsal dinner was that my dad was also there. My dad, who I hadn't seen in 4 years, who Marcus knew I had a no-contact boundary with, who was sitting at the head table laughing with my uncles like nothing had ever happened. Marcus knew. He'd known for months and decided the easiest thing was just not to tell me and hope I'd be too deep into the weekend to make a scene. I didn't make a scene. I got through the rehearsal dinner and the wedding and the reception, and I smiled in every single photo. On the flight home, I stared out the window for 3 hours and didn't say a word to my girlfriend Priya, who kept looking at me sideways and not pushing it because she knows me well enough to know when I'm processing versus when I'm done. What my dad did isn't the point of this story because I've told that story 100 times and I'm tired of it. The short version is that he had a second family for 6 years while living with us, and when it came out, he chose them. I was 17. My mom found out the same day I did, and we've never really talked about it properly since because she shut that part of herself off like a circuit breaker. My brother Marcus was 19 and somehow decided the solution was to stay close to both of us and never acknowledge the conflict directly. I always thought that was cowardice. He thought he was being a peacemaker. When I got home, I called Marcus and asked him straight up why he didn't tell me. He said he knew I wouldn't come if I knew, and he needed me there. I told him he made that decision for me. He said he didn't want drama at his wedding. I told him I'd spent 3 days smiling at the man who blew our family apart so he could have clean photos, and that was the last thing I was doing. He said I was making his wedding about myself. I said I was done with this conversation and hung up. My phone went crazy for the next 2 days. Marcus, my mom asking me to forgive Marcus, my Uncle Dave saying I needed to be the bigger person, my Aunt Renee sending a voice note about family being all we have, my cousin Dre texting separately saying he heard what happened and it wasn't that deep. Every single message was a variation of the same thing. Nobody said Marcus was wrong. Nobody said what my dad did was wrong. It was all just different ways of telling me to be easier to deal with. So on Sunday morning, I sat down with my coffee and I blocked them. All of them. Not out of anger, out of exhaustion. Because I realized I'd spent 15 years being the person who stayed reasonable while everyone around me prioritized keeping the peace over telling the truth, and I was finished. Priya asked me that night if I was okay. I told her honestly I felt lighter than I had in years. She didn't tell me I was wrong and she didn't tell me I was right. She just nodded and said, "Okay, I'm here." It's been 3 weeks. Marcus sent a card to our apartment, actual physical card in the mail, asking me to call him. I haven't. Maybe I will eventually. But it's going to be when I decide, on my terms, and not because everyone got uncomfortable with my silence.